Okay, it's 19:01. I'll call the meeting to order and ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Thanks. And a second. Any discussion?
One addition.
Go ahead.
Referred from the CSC, we have, I have an item under council, 8C.
Yes.
Feasibility of the shared emergency coordinator.
Okay, thanks. Would you like to do that under council or under the committees? The committee hasn't been struck yet, so we'll do it under council. Feasibility. Shared.
The subcommittee has been struck.
That's right, yeah. So we can't do it.
Yeah, has been.
But it has been.
Subcommittee has. We just haven't met yet. But we're trying. We're working on that.
Well, okay.
But the other thing to add is the Council Strategy Committee recommendation from this afternoon's 3 p.m. meeting. From the CSC agenda.
Yeah, instruct staff to do something. Where does that go?
Yeah, so that would be, you can put that under committees, 8D.
Yeah, okay, so under 8D, the Council Strategy Committee recommendation, and you've got the text?
It's just as printed in the CSC agenda, that a public information meeting to discuss the draft zoning bylaw be scheduled for 7 p.m. Thursday, January 19th, 2017 at the Broughton Community Hall, Lions Bay.
Very good.
What's the title for that, Peter?
Just call it
zoning bylaw.
a public meeting. Yeah.
The Lions Bay zoning bylaw public information.
Yeah,
meeting.
information meeting, just to make sure that people realize it's not the zoning bylaw hearing.
Your call under mayor report if you want to do 1 minute on parking plan.
Okay, well, we'll reserve it and.
It's your call.
Parking plan. Thanks for that. Anything else? Okay, so minutes as amended. All in favour? Opposed? That carries.
Sorry, what's the parking plan?
Mayor, 8E. Okay, next on the agenda, public participation. We don't have a list, but I see Tony Cox standing up.
He owns the podium. I'm not a barber, I can't speak that well. I tried to come here on the 20th of December, but Carl wasn't here. So I came tonight because you are here.
You tabled it. Okay,
Right.
that's as we say in the business.
One of the criteria, of course, of being in the Historical Society is to try and retain all information for historical events and for enjoyment of people. I'm referring right now to council photographs. And at one time we collected all the photographs from 1971, and we had them all in frames all along here, and it started to look pretty busy. So we were given them back, so it becomes better after the reno. And rather than hide them away, we decided to put them in a binder. And I have a binder here. And it's for your whatever you wish to do with it. But of course, as new photographs come, we would like to add them to it. So here's every photograph from the very beginning. It's in this binder. And our secretary, Christine Sisler, she was the one who did most of the work, so we have to thank her for her efforts. So, Carol, there we are. It had the Christmas,
Fame at last.
It had the Christmas label on it.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Wow, it's even got a thing. It's very nice. Thanks. Don't look. Okay. Oh, that's how it comes open.
See this? We did notice one thing, and that is that in most of the photographs we've had people from the office in the photographs, like Peter, and for future reference, of course, it's always good to know who was the total picture of everybody. So it's something you might wish to think about.
Louis, you haven't changed a bit.
He never does.
Oh, appearance-wise, yes, but I mean, behavior. That's fantastic. Thanks. I'll pass this around. I want to study it later. see if I recognize any names, which I do.
If it
Thank you,
could be
Tony.
Put somewhere we can look at it later to add extra photographs.
I think we'll put it in that in the trophy case
Very-
there actually,
very
but
good idea,
we'll
yeah.
see how it goes.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ruth Simons.
Well, I'm here to answer questions.
Thanks. So I actually asked Ruth to come. You will see a recommendation coming, I believe, or to do with approving, it'll be a future budget request to fund half the cost of a Housebound Community Forum shared with Metro Vancouver in April-ish, right?
April 28th.
Yeah, so I just asked Ruth to strike while the iron's hot because we're discussing it with Metro right now to see if anybody had any questions. My first question is, give us a ballpark understanding of what sort of number we're talking about.
Ooh, $500?
Yeah, so it's a coffee and lunch, and any sort of tables, chairs.
Square in the gym,
Yeah, which we
and a
have.
gallery.
So the number would be about 500.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And perhaps you could just give people an understanding of the benefit to Lions Bay. Lions Bay is special because we're hosting. We get to dictate what dress, behavior.
The Housebound Community Forum, I think Lions Bay was last hosted a few years ago anyway. And the intention of the forum is that it moves around between the communities. The benefit to being the host is that you do have input to the agenda. I just, as a volunteer, I just help fill that gap in logistics and putting together a suggested agenda, list of speakers, and then doing all the inviting and making sure people show up. So as the host community usually takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes to make a presentation to just familiarize the rest of the communities with this area. So it would be up to you what you would want to speak about. Sharing it with Metro, they did make a presentation last time. That's this rural area, or A, I believe it is.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think I would suggest that Lions Bay could have a little bit more time. It'd be up to you what you wanted to speak about. I did provide a draft of first go at what speakers we might want to invite, being topical and what's coming up. So, and I typically would meet with one or two of you to go through that agenda and work out final logistics.
Yeah, that's great. I look forward to the opportunity to sort of showcase Lions Bay a little bit. It's somewhat politics because will Pam Goldsmith-Jones be here? If not her, one of her
That's why I'm
staff.
hoping to
Yeah.
secure the date, because that's really important to her staff to know and to make her available, because as you know, she'd like to spend the whole day
Yeah.
here. And then being so close to the provincial election, Jordan Sturdy's office also says, sooner the better we know. And he probably will just be here for part of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that gives a sense. Anything else? I mean, we've all attended these things. It may surprise you to learn that I already gave some suggestions to Ruth for the agenda, but that needs to be fleshed out a little bit. The
there's
dates
time.
again, Ruth?
April 28th, the hall is available. It's a Friday.
The 28th, yeah.
Fridays are best. You might want to check your Metro agenda or commitments for that day, because that's usually the conflict, but the 21st, I think the hall was already booked. And the rest of the week doesn't ever seem to work for other communities, council members. So.
Yeah. Interesting.
And April and October are typically when we do that. So working around Easter, spring break, the election, and all the rest of it.
There are no Metro meetings on that particular Friday.
So that is a good day.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Thanks, Ruth.
Okay.
It will come up in the budget process, right, Pam? Pretty small number.
Yes.
So it's typically up to 70 people, and I try to budget for $17 a
Okay.
person.
Yeah, that was the question I had. That's about $1,200, but then we're hoping to get 50%
Yeah,
funding
so
through
we're
Metro,
probably
so
short
that's
then.
600. Yeah. No, that's fine. And
Well, we
then
could
just
just-
the,
We'll just
Give or
present them a
take.
bill
Yeah.
for some extra.
and then just the
And then the
in-kind for the
in-kind.
public works time to
Yeah.
set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks.
We move on to delegations. Mr. Louis Peterson.
Good evening. Oops. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I bring greetings to you and to everybody from the Lions Bay Senior Social Circle. We started off the new year very well. Today, in fact, at the Senior Social Circle with Tai Chi, and we had a bumper number of attendees of 23 people, biggest number we've ever had. Anyway, I came here to talk about something else, and if we have time at the end, I would like to introduce something which is not on my list, and that is a private member's bill.
We'll refer to the corporate officer on that one.
You got quite a bit of material.
Actually, on this, you do know you have 10 minutes, now 9.
Well, all right, I can go quickly. I gave you quite a bit of material as supporting material to the presentation. And what I've been thinking about is how to make it shorter. So I have listed the various steps that have brought us to where we are. I'm here to talk about Lions Bay Resources Directory, and also a reason for a proposal for a Lions Bay Community Association. And on the sheets that I passed out, I think there's half a dozen of them, I have put down sort of 8 steps, or 8 or 9 steps, and to indicate to you where we've got to with our thinking at this point in time. I call us a volunteer grassroots organization, hopefully to come under the aegis of the Lions Bay Community Association, which is a new group. So things are quite a bit fluid at the moment. Now I'll just go through the 8 pieces here, and then there may be questions that come up about some specific parts of it. There's an identification of a need. We saw that. We should identify content. That's done partly to show just what there would be in the resources directory. We call it a resources directory rather than a telephone directory, because it will have much more in it, much more comprehensive than just a telephone directory. And then how it comes about that we have moved towards the idea of a Lions Bay Community Association, and where we have identified who would the possible affiliates be. And I use that word very affirmatively because affiliates will have a lot of independence. Then there should be some kind of an organized umbrella committee to bring us all together. Authenticity is going to be important, particularly when we ask for advertisements and support from commercial organizations. We need to be more authentic than a senior social circle, with the average age, I think, at the moment is about 86.
Don't know where you get the energy.
Number 5 is estimation of tangible and intangible costs and benefits. And it's quite a bit of a cost associated with printing a directory of any kind. And that's, of course, where the council will be very, very important. The intangible cost is the aspect of community engagement, where this becomes, I hope, a community project, not just a project of the social circle, the senior social circle, or the community association. And then I've got this word here, volunteer responsibility panels. I don't like that name very much because volunteers are volunteers, and responsibility is another thing altogether. Anyway, there's the telephone directory panel. They were so enthusiastic they were out the door before we had got anywhere, asking people to join or to put the name forward for the telephone directory upgrade. What's interesting is we found out that about at least 1/5 of the community has changed hands since 2011, which is the date of the last telephone directory. At least 1/5, maybe more. We would need a finance panel, an advertising panel, a social themes panel, and a services panel. So it could be a very comprehensive document if we get all the buy-in to do these various jobs. Number 7 is the design, the theme, the production, the printing,
That's where the cost is in printing. The theme that I like to promote is that this is meant to be a linking of the circles, and it's meant to be community engagement, and it's meant to be investing in the community. And then there's the whole question of distribution. So if you want to ask particular questions about this overview, I'll be happy to see what I can say.
Thanks, Lou. Council?
I just have a question regarding the last topic. Like, it seems to me a lot of the information, being that we're looking at a whole bunch of things. It's a resource document that you're talking about. I'm just wondering how much of it can be tied to village systems. In other words, you know,
To other systems.
village systems that may have information, phone numbers.
It's for privacy, we can't disclose
No,
that
no,
information.
well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how we could possibly come up with something, because it is a resources document for everybody in the village, and I don't know why, you know. Maybe a lot of information maybe you couldn't provide, but.
Well, you brought up a point which I did think about, and that is that in the introductory part of the resources directory, there would be the municipal council perspective about things. So that might be a couple of pages. There's so much stuff, of course, on the village website that the links can be made that way. But an overview about the municipal council would be a very relevant and important part of the resources directory. And so that's something. See, as I said, we're in a state of fluidity at the moment. So there's a lot of talking, so there's a lot of discussing.
But do we know within the village when property changes hands? Like, that's the piece I was thinking about. In other words, if you know, you mentioned a fifth of the places have changed hands since 2011, I'm thinking if we had an idea which ones, you know, they could put a flag somewhere to say, okay, this information is incorrect, or whatever the case is.
Well, one of the things that I say somewhere in my papers that I gave to you is that we fully understand that we do not represent council in any way, shape or form, the words that are in the community plan. So we're not going to be asking the office for information which they should, under the Privacy Act, would not be able to give to us. So we have to do a lot more work because of the Privacy Act, and that is we will have to ask people to opt into the telephone directory for a start. And that's going to be a door-to-door campaign, a lot of work. We've got every village covered except for Upper Bayview Road. And Bayview Road, and another one.
Don't look at me, buddy.
But we do have the volunteers on the telephone directory update are so enthusiastic. They're ready to roll. They wonder why I'm dragging my heels. But this is where I come to the last part of this presentation, which is the action that I'm asking for, and that we would be asking for. And I know that it's a bit premature because you haven't dealt with the municipal grants budget or anything like that, but it would be support in principle. And you could put conditions on that if you wish, as you will wish. Support in principle, because that would give us authenticity and a better vehicle by which to gather commercial advertising, for one thing, and also in the community of Lions Bay. If the council thinks that this is a good project and that we can really make it fly, then you know, it's a case of more hands making less work for individuals and support from the top.
Okay, Council? You look like you want to say something, I did.
Yes, Louis, you have put in a grant application already for, not for this is an addendum, but an original grant application for this?
Yes, there's been
Yes,
one
there
submitted
is.
for what they're calling the Lions Bay, what did you call it, the
We call
Lions
the
Bay
Lions Bay Community Association.
Community Association?
I think I asked, well, when I asked, it's not me, there's more of us. Don't shoot this messenger, please, don't shoot the messenger. I think we asked for something like $2,500,
$3,000, yeah,
$3,000, that
$3,000.
range. But of course, there's a caveat there that we will do, well, again, I shouldn't say we. We want to raise as much money as possible by advertising. So if we got more than, if we didn't have to encroach on the municipal grant at all, then that would be a return to the municipality.
Okay, well, that's the time that we have. I think I can speak for council. We obviously need to discuss this as part of the budget process, and it's a larger, it's almost a policy decision in terms of endorsement of council. But in principle, I think it's fair to say we would certainly consider this to be the Lions Bay guide. And if somebody else came by, we'd said you would have to talk to the LBECA because they have the guide mandate, let's say. But until we saw the final product, it would be very hard to give it the official stamp of approval. So it's something of a chicken and egg situation. But our community portfolio council member would be the one handling this. And so, I mean, Eileen, if you're willing to take this on as part of your portfolio, I think that we could come to a point where it's something that council will be able to endorse that suits the community's needs and the producer, the publisher's needs. I think so. I think it's fair to say that, yeah, you probably have agreement in principle. Peter?
I just wanted to clarify, Louis, are you looking for council support or approval in principle with respect to the notion of putting together a social directory, or are you looking for council support, approval in principle of the idea of creating an overarching organization called Lions Bay Community Association?
It's so closely connected, really, because putting together the resources directly by the SSC, for example, I don't think that would go anywhere because we're all 86 years old.
I think that's why you've asked for the new association.
If we could link the circles that I see, I call them village a mosaic of circles, community circles. Some are small, some are big. If it becomes a community project, then it belongs to the community, not to the SSC. And
yeah, I just wanted to clarify what the support was for.
so
Yeah, but
this
it's the money,
it's
actually.
two-edged support, in a sense, that I'm asking for.
Okay.
Well, I mean, anybody's free to form any group they want in Lions Bay, obviously, but you're asking for a mandate from council for a directory. I think it's probably fair to say that we'd have to see what it looked like in the end, that you know, that it was sufficiently met all of sort of the things that we don't know yet. But Eileen, I'm sure, could come up with a sort of a framework.
I was hoping that the list of contents would give you an idea of what it could look like. Once the contents have been...
I would say that your first 90% is done. The second 90% is the one that I'm concerned about, though. So
90%?
yeah. So I think that's probably. I would encourage you to proceed, and if I can ask you to
Yeah.
let Eileen spearhead it on behalf of council, I think we can probably come up with something. I like the idea.
Good, that's good.
I was going to say, in terms of the process, though, they have put forward a municipal grant for $3,000 for this new association, the Lions Bay Community Association, which will be tentatively scheduled for presentations by people asking for their donations like we did last year for the February 7th CSC meeting. So I don't know if Louis was also asking for pre-approval of the $3,000 or just the concept of it.
No, I really wasn't asking for
just
any
the approval of the concept.
approval of the concept,
Okay.
approval in principle.
Yeah, no, I mean, Louis explicitly says that he realizes any such request would be premature.
Peter, is there a problem with, depending on what Eileen's ultimate recommendation is, but let's presume that it says it is on page 7 here, that a portion of this comes from community grant and another portion comes from a different community grant, and it comes from some fundraising, but at the end of the day it also comes from private practice as well too. We're doing advertising. Do we have any conflict with joining in on a document where professional services, just to pick one, are advertising in what is a village-funded document. And maybe you want to reflect on that?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be Eileen's too then.
Yeah, reflect on that with Eileen. Come up with this sort of terms of reference or
We don't want
framework.
to lead you down the wrong path here.
Yeah.
The 2011 directory was full of advertisements and paid for the whole thing, I believe, in the end.
And then some. Yeah. Well, I was involved, obviously.
So advertising has been practiced in the village, in the directory for quite a long time.
Yeah, that was published by the PAC.
But all the directors before that had investment. Yeah.
Very good.
So I was going to bring forward a private member's bill, which is to restrain the officials of the village from indulging in suicidal acts of jumping into the frigid house sound on New Year's Day. But
Too late. Who here, other than me, jumped into the water on? Ron, you were there,
I was there.
but not stupid enough to actually.
I've been hospitalized after I did it the last time.
I say it every year. It wasn't that bad. Thank you. Second. Okay, so we'll proceed. Thanks, Louis. That's great. Thanks for undertaking that. Next, I believe, is approval of the minutes of prior meeting, and that is the meeting of the 20th of December. Can I have a motion and a second? Any changes?
20th of December meeting?
Mm-hmm. That's what it says on my thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, sorry. I'm reading the top of it here. Yes, I have some
Okay.
changes.
Shoot.
Under 12, new business. It's not a year-round award located in Victoria. The deadline was January 20th, 2017 for the first one.
Okay.
What would you like to say? So take out.
Noting that
Just
the
call it an annual
deadline-
award.
it's an annual award, and the deadline was January 20th, 2017.
Yep.
And that more time is needed, and
Okay.
Is that the same for VOLB?
no, B was fine.
Okay.
It's just the one that was, that's all I saw.
I have a big circle with a question mark here, but I don't know what I meant. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so as amended, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thanks. And I'll pull out my agenda so that I don't have to keep page one. Business arising. Peter, just remind me, how do we do that business arising again?
If there's anything here that you want to follow up on, or
Now, you were talking about having a to-do list or an action item list or something coming up, but because
yeah, I can speak to it now, or I can speak to it in the IRRs. But essentially, the idea was that after each council meeting, currently Shauna takes all the resolutions and puts them in the resolutions index, but that's far too big and unwieldy a document for adding to each agenda. It's about 30 or 40 pages. So really, looking back on what we're trying to do is to ensure that we're not dropping the ball on miscellaneous things that need to be actioned, such as correspondence follow-ups, whether it's myself or
yeah, sort of
yourself,
non-resolution level stuff. That's what I'm.
Well, everything's basically, council does business by resolution, so even the correspondence items should be resolutions and generally are, but it's those sorts of things that we'll do a follow-up action list, or fuel for short, and just make sure that we
I like
cover that off. So, and that's something that you and I can touch base on a week after a meeting.
Yeah.
I've suggested to Carl that we meet bi-weekly on the Monday after a council meeting.
Tuesday.
sorry, Tuesday,
Yeah.
we decided on,
Yeah, Tuesday, I think. Yeah.
Tuesday after a council meeting, and we can follow up on things that required action coming out of the council meeting. You know, those things that require immediate action, kind of thing, and also look ahead to the next agenda and planning ahead and that kind of thing. So. Yeah, that's more or less what
I think that'll work, so that we don't have to then re-troll through the previous meetings' minutes to see if there's anything that stands out. It's there. Okay, good. Fine. So
I don't know whether this gets added, but you were going to inform me where it's written that we can't charge for false alarms.
was that an IRR?
No, it was just mentioned at the last meeting.
Yes, I do remember that. That's a sort of follow-up action item.
Right. Yeah. We could cover off something like that.
So it's not even in the minutes, right?
No.
It's not in the minutes, no.
What did it come? When did that discussion take place?
I believe it was after the fire report, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the charges, the fees and
It probably
charges.
would have been as part of the adoption of the fees and charges.
Fees and
bylaw.
charges, exactly.
That's
It
when
was-
you would have asked about
yes,
that. Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. So I will make a new note to myself.
Okay, thank you.
And
Just make it an
Sean,
IRR.
if you can.
Unless you don't. I mean, if it's quick.
Yeah, I'll just
you
I'll
decide.
just pull the sections
Okay.
of the act and send you an email to clear
Perfect.
that up.
One thing I did want to ask about, Peter, was did you get into that course in Victoria? Yeah.
Not
You're
yet.
still waitlisted?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table to adopt the minutes as amended. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favour? Opposed? That carries. And unfinished business, that being the IRRs, starting on page 17. Peter, do you want to? How do you want to handle this in the most efficient way?
Well, I can.
Have the Oscar mention it, or do you want to just tell us where we stand? Because we can all
No,
read it.
why don't I just, some of these things can be gone through pretty quick here.
Okay.
So on the first one, regarding the drones, staff's already touched base with the drone operator, and a demonstration has been arranged.
Fantastic.
I forget exactly when, but it'll. So that's in the works.
Nai's going to be undertaking that, so he
Yeah.
can talk to the IC about that.
I believe the demonstration was actually today, so he
Oh.
should be able to update us
Oh, wow.
on the
Oh, good.
Thursday.
Okay.
Because I just
CSC,
remind
because there will
council.
be a budget implication. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not
Like if
operating.
it sort of ties into.
Because we had
CSC.
planned to spend how much on a drone? $5,000.
I want to say 4,000 or 5,000.
Yeah, that's epic. We killed it.
Exactly.
Okay,
So he'll be. I don't know what the update is, but I know he's had the meeting, so he could update us on Thursday.
great.
What was that for?
Drone to inspect the intakes.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
For when we can't get up there because of
Yes.
safety things, rather than hire a helicopter, we thought, could a drone do it? As it turns out, drones are a little more complicated than we thought. But there is a resident who is the drone guy. I think he's the only person in either Canada or BC who doesn't have to file a flight plan before using his commercial drone, because he wrote the rules or something.
Okay,
So he offered, and we'll hear.
okay.
You'll be delivering your glasses tomorrow, Jim. You'll be delivering your glasses tomorrow.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are Amazon's trialing drone delivery in Canada because our rules are less stringent.
Yeah.
So the next one, Nye was going to speak to, but maybe he can speak to that on Thursday. But he'll be preparing a report in any event.
Which one?
The communication study one.
That's SCADA.
Oh, that's the SCADA.
That's
Okay,
the
fine.
SCADA,
Okay,
so-
all right, fine. If we want to call it that, did we call it that before?
It's what it was called in the budget, but
Okay.
that's
Oh, that's
basically.
Hmm.
And again, Thursday probably some discussion, but then staff will come forward with if they need to request money for the
This is what it's evolved to.
2017.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The next one was with respect to signage, and it was some of it was parking, but some of it was more general. But we were previously going to examine it within the context of parking plan requirements, signage requirements. But that's more or less, I think, where that should get tied in with? In terms of what, you know, when we look at signage and look at what
Well, the parking
sort of
plan is
budget
not general.
requirements.
None of this is parking signs, except maybe one where we have 2 no parking signs within a meter of each other. But the rest were non-parking related signs.
Okay, so in any event, I did forward that email, it was from a year ago, from yourself,
I know.
with examples. And some of those examples are, I think, contained in your draft parking plan. I think I seem to recall seeing some of them there.
Some are now
examples
moot.
of things that shouldn't be or whatever, but
Yeah.
so some things will simply, you know, we are looking at signage, and signage considerations will come forward in budget discussions too, right? So
Yeah,
this will come back, is what I'm saying. We're
these
not
are
gonna,
takedowns or moves of existing signs. The budget is 2 hours, if that.
well, I thought some of them were replacements or different signage as opposed to simply
Maybe
removing.
one. The reason, the different one, if it's anything, was the signage that spoke to the award of the monies for the 2 treatment plants. As you know, one is mounted on a tree about 300 or 400 meters from the treatment plant, and another is mounted on the signboard at the end of Sunset, nothing to do with the treatment plant. We should be proud of that. It should be on the gate of the treatment plant saying this plant was paid for by the government, yes, but also by the residents of Lions Bay. It is potentially part of a bigger signage review, I agree, which was recommended by the old IC, the previous council IC. So I can be patient. I just know that, you know, I asked for it a year ago, what seemed to me pretty simple, you know, remove some rotten wooden sign from outside the school with the school district and principal's permission. The principal's now changed. So now I have to get a new principal's permission because that principal's moved on. But the sign's a year more rotten than it was before. And it was fine at the time, but I suppose we probably need to ask the new principal now. Anyway, a year seems to me to be more than enough time for me to be patient for some pretty obvious things. But okay, so I hear that it's moving inexorably towards some new status.
Defer it to so the public works manager has an opportunity to review what it is exactly you're asking for. The next one was we've already just discussed creating a new
now
fuel.
So that one's now superseded, done, dusted. Does that just move into the dead pile, or
No,
needs no resolution?
that'll be well, in terms of just disposing of it, it would go into either preempted, or you can resolve that we're going to do it by way of the follow-up action list that I've explained. Correspondence in the agenda package. Treatment of all correspondence is going to be covered in the correspondence policy, which I will bring to the next meeting. I'm almost done, but I'd like to go over it with staff too.
Right.
And IPGs, Nye was going to speak to that, but he's not here tonight.
Okay, we can table that.
Right. And website. So we're still plugging away on preparing our existing documentation and OCRing documents, content proofing, copywriting. We're going to need to get assistance with the labor-intensive task of uploading. So we had a budget of 10,000. We've still got about 1,600 that hasn't been spent yet, and so I'd like to get council's approval on a rebudget of that. You know, whatever's remaining from the original allocation, so that we can continue and get that finished.
What was council's expectation for delivery date when we approved the $10,000 budget?
I think we were hoping for the end of the year.
That's what I thought.
You know,
December.
That's when we were hoping, but all things considered, that's.
Are we going to lose anything in the transfer to the new, like, minutes, or everything's going, because the last time we did this there was a lot of information on, I think it was infrastructure, and that was
Just disappeared.
We'll still have an infrastructure library for sure.
I think, at least my fond hope is that not only will it re-present all the information in a findable place, we can even search for it now. For example, as I keep raving to Peter, not Peter's fault, once minutes are done, I can't find anything because I'm not going to search through a pile of paper this time.
Well, the 2011 and 2012 minutes seem to stop on May.
You
There's
can get-
something, it's
you can
over
get
and over
those,
and
yeah.
over and over and over again.
But you also have to know that the minutes are stored under the calendar tab. But so this is all coming.
No, so this will all be in a proper minutes and
Searchable
searchable.
using Google's free search tool.
I don't know exactly how it'll be searchable, but it'll be
Stats.
either Word or OCR'd PDFs.
Now I did send you a subsequent request to tell us what the top 10 pages are right now. I don't need the answer now, but
Yeah, so Shauna did pull that, and I meant to send that to you. Sorry,
Okay.
I forgot to do that.
no problem. Send it to me when you can. Do we get to see one more go around before there's a soft launch, or
We really need to upload a bunch of material, and once
So
we
that-
do that, we're going to, I'm expecting that we're going to have to do some tweaks in terms of spacing and in terms of function here and there. Things that I anticipate that I've spoken to the contractor about, and he's like, well, okay, well let's get some stuff up, and then we can see how that works.
yeah, that's often the case. Yeah, you want to start loading real content.
Yeah.
So ETA.
We're meeting tomorrow, Thursday, actually,
Yeah,
to
we're
do
meeting
a
on
schedule.
Thursday to really drill down on who's doing what and where we're at, and some of it, as I say, it's working on converting what are currently JPEGs of pictures of bylaws, basically.
Yeah,
so we need
Although you
to
can
make that
actually
searchable.
You can actually index JPEGs now, but yeah. Okay, that sounds promising. I mean, as you've just said, to me, I don't care about the appearance. Google's best practice is text.
Well,
What I care about is font.
it's not Google. We're a municipality. We're not.
I get that.
we're not,
What I care about is
association.
findable information.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely,
just,
that's
Google's just a big search engine.
yeah.
That's all, you just want a search engine to do it, one that's gonna do what you want it to do.
No, I'm saying more into.
Well, we want more than just a search engine.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
yeah.
need sliding panels and pretty pictures.
Well, there'll be some pretty pictures. There's always pretty pictures.
Okay, some, but carefully selected for political expediency.
We won't hit you over the head with the pretty pictures.
Okay, good, thank you. That's a satisfactory update.
Okay. And for the area AOCP, I have not thoroughly reviewed that document at this point in time.
Okay, so I did allude to, just to remind council, this is relatively important and we may have missed the deadline. I'm not sure when it was for commentary. The electoral area of Metro is going through its first ever OCP exercise. And one of the things they said is to do with the lands just to our south, to do with those big private parcels above Ocean Point and Strachan Point, that they say in their OCP they want to discourage any development on. Well, for all I know, Lions Bay doesn't want that, because more or less where the white key is on the map is where those lands are. And for all I know, at some point in the future, we may want to amalgamate them into Lions Bay to add to our tax base.
Of course.
So we potentially don't want to discourage development there, or if I got my negatives right. So I mean that's one of many aspects. It's a pretty meaty document. They want to discourage docks in Howe Sound. They want to. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't like a lot of the things I saw. I participated in the process. I went to all the public hearings. I spoke at all of them. Even though we're not in electoral area A, we're a neighbour, so we have some sort of legal right.
So in terms of division of, and I don't know if other council members have read it as well as
I
yourself.
doubt it, right? No, I wouldn't have. No.
But you mentioned that there's certain things that you didn't like, certain things that caught your attention, and I wonder. I mean, I know that there's in terms of priorities and the number of things that are on my plate. I wonder whether or not this is something that you might be able to put down some.
Sure.
Even if it's a very brief report to council with respect to your thoughts on the OCP, and bring it to the next meeting.
Is it a large document?
Yeah, pretty large, about 50, 60 pages. Sort of OCP sound. Yeah, I mean, it is important, I believe, under one of those priorities there, strategic priority
It's
and...
about expansion. They're killing our expansion.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So I will read through it and pull out the points that I think we may want to have some input on. That's all supposing that there's still time.
Well, cover that now too. I mean, if the time is important and you do your stuff, you're not going to get to another council meeting.
Let me first look at it. I haven't looked at it for a month.
Do this by email and
Yeah.
get a letter or so.
Yeah.
And it may be that if there is a deadline that's unachievable for us, then they may very well be amenable to extending that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. That's also good.
So we have an IRR that's shifted from the CAO to the M.
The M will take all the work you can get.
Oh, I'm marking it as a first for offloading.
That's a biggie.
Downloading or uploading?
Well, it depends how you look at it.
Yeah, to me it
I
looks
think
like
the term was
downloading.
offloading.
Yeah.
Why don't they all have priorities?
Yeah, we never.
So the intention, as you can see, if you look at over the page and see some of the resolutions that have come previously and that were dealt with, originally the requester is responsible for setting out what the requester's priority assessment is of the matter, what the rationale is, and what they see as personnel or financial. And then I fill in who's the administrative owner, and our preliminary administrative response before we spend, a bunch of time looking at something or looking into something. And then council or committee's disposition of the matter is, okay, yeah, it's high enough priority, we agree with the priority assessment, or it's a matter that staff should spend time looking into, or we do need to know this, or council can say, you know what, that's stuff that, we've got better things to do, or we've got bigger fish to fry, let's just table this, or not deal with it, or what have you.
You'll see that your name looks different on this than it does in your mind.
Quite a few of these resolution ones, Peter, I'm just sort of running through them. They can be moved into done.
Yeah, I confess that I know that I need to go through everything and move some things. I moved a couple of things, but it was just a real quick, and I know I've missed stuff, so.
On the other hand, there's some stuff that's pretty dang old now that's still not done. But I won't pull them out for now. Okay, good. Thanks. Anything else?
Move second.
Okay, so how do we do that again?
So per the agenda.
We have to actually say what we're going to do. But you can fill it in
Yeah.
later.
So we've identified the disposition of each of those.
Okay.
Each of those things. I've made notes as to that, and your resolution is that the IRRs be updated in accordance with how we just dealt with each of those matters.
Okay, everybody good with that as the motion? I'll take a nod as making a motion. Thank you, Ron. In a second, all in favour? Opposed? That carries. Okay, great stuff. Let's just get ourselves sorted out here. This goes here. And next on the agenda is Pam. You're up.
Yes, the appeal of sewer parcel tax, bylaw number 108. The council has had a chance to look at the report.
Okay, let's assume that we've all read it, so
Yeah.
tell
But
us.
at kind of a high level, the sewer parcel tax is 34 years old, and the main reason it was adopted, it was prior to the community charter, so it didn't have to follow any of the current rules for parcel taxes. Was we had vacant parcels in Kelvin Grove and we wanted to be able to tax them, and we had no choice, we had to do it with the parcel tax. And that is why the purpose of the parcel tax was just really, it's the same purpose as the user fees are now, it's just to cover the day-to-day maintenance of the sewer system, which, and like I say, it's gone on for 34 years, so under the current rules with the community charter, it wouldn't qualify because it doesn't have an end date. And very few parcel taxes go beyond 30 years. And since I've written this report, I found out that apparently this has come up several times over the years, talking about repealing it, but we just never got around to doing it. So the intent would be to repeal it and then get all of our revenue from the sewer user fees, because we're basically collecting two different types of revenue for the same purpose. Some of the considerations would be by removing it as a parcel tax, and the parcel tax was about $267 last year, you won't be able to defer that. But I did go and check, and there are only 6 people in Kelvin Grove that defer their taxes. And the other thing about the deferral, you can't assume that everyone defers taxes for financial hardship. A lot of them just do for, cash flow. They prefer to spend the cash.
Yeah, I saw that
else.
argument of yours, but that's their personal business. It's not for us to determine one way or the
No,
other.
it's
why
not.
they do it.
But what I'm saying is that I don't think it's fair to assume that people are going to be in financial dire straits if they can no longer defer $266 payment. That's all I meant.
Okay, so we have the options there. Thanks, Pam.
So those are the options.
And they're preferred.
The only thing I'm going to change here is I said that there would essentially be a net change of about $35 per property because I was able to tax 95 parcels for a certain amount of revenue, and now it's reduced to 84. But as you'll see on Thursday, when I do the sewer budget, we're able to reduce some costs. So I've actually been able to keep the fee whole. So last year they paid $266.80 parcel tax and $533.60 for a user fee for a total of $840, and that was so now I'm able to charge them the exact same amount in the proposed 2017 budget, just over the 84 parcels. So
that's this year's budget. Next year might be a whole different story. But
It just happens to work at this time.
yeah.
right, it just I'm saying is that $35 is no longer correct. That it will be a zero increase to them.
Gotcha.
Haley said it at some point that they had $150,000 in a
Reserve?
fund reserve.
Sewer reserve, yeah.
Sewer reserve. What happens to the sewer reserve? I thought this parcel tax was to keep that going so that if
No, it
something
had nothing
happened.
to do with that. That was the point, was that we weren't billing it for capital and putting the money in a reserve. It's just being used the same way as the user fees. But we have had a sewer surplus over the years, and we do have over $100,000 in surplus in sewer. But this has no impact on that.
Remind
this
us why we
parcel
don't
tax
use
was-
that for operations. The surplus, the reserve, or does it have to be capex?
No, it doesn't have to be capital.
It's
It's
council
basically a
decision.
surplus, and we put it, it's basically, of the surplus we have, a portion has been collected from sewer taxes, so it has to be used for sewer.
More than we
It can be
needed.
used for capital, it's probably what it would be used for, but some places use it. We haven't needed to, but for rate stabilization, in West Vancouver, they put some money aside in cases there were years where they had to really jump this sewer rate and didn't want to have that huge increase. They drew from that reserve to stabilize the rate.
So,
But we still have that money. It's sitting in, it's not 150, but we do
So-
have.
really, Pam, cosmetics aside on the small number here, this is just cleaning up legislation.
Yes, we're not required to do it. I want to be clear on that. It's not an illegal parcel tax. I just think it's really housekeeping. There's no purpose for it. It's been 34 years.
It does make sense to do it, because it just reduces the clutter and it makes it easier to manage things.
I've heard enough. I'm okay with option 1.
Okay, so a few more questions. Remind us, you said this afternoon in the committee, Pam, I think that a parcel tax is harder to administer than a utility rate. Do I remember correctly? Was that this
Yes,
afternoon?
like this one, there hasn't been a lot of administration, but I just meant when we put forward the proposals for the future debt, administratively, there is a bit more work with parcel taxes. You have to do a parcel roll, and so yes, there is more work. But in terms of this, to be honest, this won't really save us any more time. It's just one little less step we have to do when we do the property taxes. We don't have to do we do a bylaw for it every year because we've been raising it every year,
Yeah.
which again, under the current legislation, you don't raise parcel tax, you set the rate, and then it stays at that rate.
Yeah, we have been treating it as a utility fee. My concern is that the 7 vacant lots will not be paying, and they will,
Yes.
in theory, one day connect to a sewer system that's free to them.
No, as soon as they connect, then they will have to pay the user
Yeah, but
fees.
and they have paid up to now. So
Yeah.
there's a period between now and when they connect that they get any upgrades to the sewer system for free.
But I guess my argument is that's not what the money's for that we're collecting for. They've paid for 34 years. They haven't been connected to
For
sewers
use,
for
and they didn't
34
use it.
years. They've been paid because it was purely for use and they haven't used it. So you could argue
So if you did the
flip
math
side. I would
on
agree
34 years, we're way ahead of
But
this
who paid for the original investment?
it was donated by the,
It was by the
developer.
developer.
Yeah. So I would agree. If this money, I wouldn't even be recommending this if this money was going into a reserve for capital. but it's not. So that's why it's just the same. It's just,
Okay, that's an important distinction, because I was opposed to this until you just explained it.
no.
Peter, how will this impact any discussion we're having with current development propositions in terms of upgrades to the sewer system?
I don't think it really has any impact, subject to how those negotiations go. We haven't got any proposal from them, but you know, the initial heads up that I gave them was that you know, they would need to look at providing us with an upgraded sewer treatment plant
For the necessary increased capacity?
Yeah, and that you know, any recovery of that long term would be, you know, we would look at new parcels that might hook up, such as if we move the public works yard and develop that land and hook it up to the sewer treatment plant, then they would pay.
Who would they pay, and would they pay as a fee or as a parcel tax? Because they're essentially defraying the upfront cost that the first developer who had to upgrade the plant because the plant's tapped out, right? So you add anything more than maybe one unit, you're going to have to upgrade the sewer plant. If you do that and somebody then taps into it, who do they pay?
They would pay the developer. It's basically an agreement that
that we would
the
undertake.
developer recovers some cost from those
cost
who,
recovery for 10 years
who benefit from the improvement. But
so
I mean,
would that
normally it would be every single parcel in Kelvin Grove.
Sure, but they
my
as we
position to
discussed-
them was that no, we don't want that. We would agree to new parcels that hook up.
Yeah. So how would the parcels that currently exist that are not paying the fee now, how would they pay that developer? Would it be a parcel tax, or would they get a bill from the developer, or how does it work? How would they pay their share of this new plant? Would it be a new parcel tax?
Or it could be they cut a check.
No, I don't think
It's
it'd
got to be a sort of a billing
It
mechanism.
would be
No,
a parcel tax.
no.
It would just be something between them and the developer.
No, we can't bind
No.
them to a third party.
Yeah,
It would be between
no.
us and them.
Yeah, no, we'd have to collect and pass over the money. So let me give that some thought.
But I guess at this stage, would it conflict with repealing this parcel tax? Do we need a parcel tax, in other words? Different number in future?
I assume we'd bring in one if we had to in the future. That doesn't relate to this one.
Yes.
It would have to be a new one, because
it would
if it
have
was,
to be a new one. Even
because
if
the
we hadn't repealed
97
this, it would
or
have to be a new one.
84 minus 7, they don't need to pay it. They've got
Yeah,
a sewage plant.
it certainly wouldn't cover the purpose that we're now contemplating.
So it would be a new tax, parcel tax, if it was a parcel
If it
tax.
was, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
And then the only thing I would add is in terms of communication, it worked well last year when we repealed the water parcel tax. I put sort of an individual communication into the Brunswick Beach utility notice explaining what was happening. I would do the same with Kelvin Grove. But the good news is it'll be an easy sell. Like, they're literally paying the same amount of money if council approves the sewer budget as proposed. Between 2016 and 2017, they're just paying it earlier, but they get a prompt payment discount on it, so they actually will end up paying a little bit less to anybody who pays before March 31st.
Well, yes and no. You know, if they're American, they get to deduct that cost off their taxes, and many of them are in Kelvin Grove. If they defer taxes, they lose that. They actually gain nothing. Unlike the Brunswick situation, where we actually gained more fee payers than we lost parcel taxes.
We did, but Brunswick Big residents gained nothing, so I sent a letter explaining to them. I'm not saying they're gaining anything. My letter will explain to them.
So I'm saying Lions Bay as a whole gains nothing from doing this. It's just housekeeping.
I was talking purely about the letter to Kelvin Grove, that I would explain to them what was happening and explain to them that they're just paying the same amount, but they're just paying it all at once rather than on the property tax bill. It's just in terms of the communication plan. Like, I think it's important that they get an individual letter in their property taxes explaining, in the utility notice explaining.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can handle communication. Yeah, my concern is that there's no particular benefit to Lions Bay, unlike the Brunswick Beach situation, where we actually gained more payers than we lost. So we actually made out on the deal. My other concern is that, if we currently hold the record for the highest fees in the province, this will ensure that we hold it into perpetuity, because this adds another $800 to our fees.
That said, it just cleans everything up, so it's we're not parceled all over the place, we're one number now.
No, it just adds
It's
another
over.
266, not 800.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know where I came up with it. I was just
It's
wondering.
utility, but
800
they
is
generally look
total.
at it in total. It's also lowered
Yes.
the property tax bill, so the total that they're paying is not changed at all.
No, no,
It's just the
absolutely
way in
not.
which they're paying it. I'm not trying to sell it as if there's an advantage to us, but I also don't think there's a cost to us of doing
So
it either.
what's the reason to go even bother? We're billing
Just
it now.
To clean it up, it's old housekeeping. Also, it bothers me that it doesn't fit the terms of the community charter now. Like, we don't have to repeal it, but it's 34 years old. No parcel tax was that long.
It was never actually used as a parcel tax.
No, it wasn't. It was just, it was effective. It was a good way of doing it at the time because it's the only way we could collect taxes.
The vacant lots.
But I think it's one of those things that stayed on the books and we just haven't bothered repealing it.
So-
And,
So now
Well,
there's
that's
3 lots that are going to soon becoming fee payers, so that's fine. 7 lots are,
Yes.
from now on are going to get a free ride, but we could say if we're looking at this
again, I
philosophically.
argue it's not a free ride. I argue that they've actually
paid more.
paid
for
more
3,
than
4
their
years.
share of a service they have never used.
That's a good argument.
Yeah.
The reverse would be if one of these people, or if the group of 7 came as a delegation and said, I've been paying for 34 years and here's my number, and how are you gonna make me feel loved here?
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion?
Has this parcel tax always been in the utilities, or was it, or whatever, whether parcel or not parcel, or was it in the mill rate before and added on to their
Again, it's never been in
taxes?
the mill rate, but it's been on the property tax bill. So your property tax bill will show your property taxes determined by the mill rate, and they also show the parcel taxes. You're allowed to defer parcel taxes and property taxes.
Yes.
But even when the sewer user fees, which we corrected as well, were on the property tax bill, you couldn't defer them. So it's not the fact that it's on the property tax bill, because some municipalities, like where I live, the utilities are on the property tax bill, but if I were to defer my taxes, I cannot defer the utilities. You can only defer the property taxes, and you're allowed to defer parcel taxes. So that's the impact, is the 6 or 7 people that deferred their taxes last year, they'll have $266 less that they
Less
can
to
defer.
defer, yeah.
Put forward the motion, member, and I would think that in advance of CFO Rook writing the notice, that maybe in a couple sentences in one of your reposts between now and then is the double heads up.
When are you thinking of doing this, Pam?
It would go out the end of February, so we could probably tag team, which we did with the Brunswick Beach. You wrote something for the municipal update, and then the bills went out, and I think that worked well.
I applied the snake oil, and Pam did the sort of
Yeah.
the more factual piece.
Okay, but we have to be careful with the update. We want this next update to be the meeting for next week.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah, we
hearing
would
this.
need to do this the end of February.
Because I already have several things, I'm really thinking I have to defer several things I wanted to say.
Yeah.
It's on the mayor's IRR.
And then we also can debate about whether or not we need to put it in the update,
Right.
if they're getting individual letters, because it's really just uniquely related to this. So the Brunswick Beach was different, because we also wanted to let everyone else to know that now it was fair. That's actually who I was really communicating with, more than the Brunswick Beach, was to let people know we fixed something that was wrong. Whereas this is really just, I don't think anyone would care other than the Kelvin Road people, for whom they'll be getting an individual letter anyway. Just something to
Motion's
keep in mind.
Okay, well, it's not an absolute slam dunk for me, but there's a motion on the table, so I'll ask for a second to that motion. Thanks. Any further discussion? Going once, going twice. I will call the question. All in favour of the motion? And opposed? Seeing none, the ayes have it. Very persuasive, Pam.
Good deal.
That was a two-part thing, though, right?
Yeah, it's a 2-part motion.
Yes.
But
It's a
did you
three-parter.
did
Did
you
we just
intend to
pass two?
put both parts of the recommendation?
Well,
Is that
do we even need a resolution? Of course the budget has to be adjusted accordingly, but we can do that resolution.
I took it that you meant both, so
Fine.
I
Okay,
took it.
there was
That's
Ron did the motion on the nod without reading it, so it is that entire motion with a two clause thing.
Okay.
Cheers.
Of course.
Okay, moving on to the mayor. I see I've been nominated for parking plan. Just see if there's anything to tell you. The parking plan is a work in progress. It's pretty much in staff's hands now. Peter, Nye, Pam, Ron and I met on some day last week, to discuss what it might look like. We're still going around and around and around, but I'm more comfortable than I was after that meeting, which was a Thursday, where I essentially got had my head on a plate. That we will come up with something that is a full solution. So it's not going to be quite the parking plan that council's reviewed. I'm still discussing with Peter, negotiating with Peter, what the formal thing is that would look like the council will approve in order to come up with a plan rather than a piecemeal approach. I think it's council's mandate, and it has been for a year almost, actually more, because we did this in October 2015, to produce a strategic parking plan. That is still in the back of my mind what needs to be done ultimately, but time's pressing. It's now mid-January already. Summer is coming. I'm confident that with staff's expertise and goodwill, we will come up with something that won't be effort wasted. Will let us test some of the concepts in the plan as it stands today. So it's it's pre-draft. My concern to protect the interest of the village is always that we don't just do something half-baked. It's got to be a proper plan. Otherwise, it's going to be just like we have today, a bunch of band-aids. So I think that's probably all I want to say. Is it a fair assessment, Peter and Ron, since you were there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So we'll move on to council reports. Fred, you're down under this section, so shoot.
Yeah. What I wanted to bring up was as it says here, feasibility of a shared emergency coordinator. Notwithstanding Peter's email today, or I think it was today, about the emergency steering committee meeting next Tuesday. So far.
I haven't heard back from everybody yet.
Okay. Anyhow. I sort of thought about this before that, but it just seems like staff has got so much on their plate and everything else like that, that even if we have a steering committee, we're going to be waiting in line for your time, quite frankly. And I think what we need is a good comprehensive community plan working here. Like, we've got the document, but we need a planner to organize all the aspects of it. And I'm no planner, so I don't want to go in and, as you say, you don't want to do something half-baked. Well, neither do I. I'd like to see something that we have outside input by somebody who is an expert in the field that could even direct our steering committee as to know what we should be doing and how we should go about it. And I think we've got a lot of people who live on cul-de-sacs and whatnot. When I think of forest fire threats and everything, the cul-de-sac's not a good place to be if the fire's coming up the hill. So we need an evacuation plan. There's a great number of things we need. So the need is there, and what I was thinking of is maybe we could share a community organizer, or not a community, emergency coordinator, sorry, with another community like, I don't know, maybe Squamish, Belcarra, Anamora, maybe even West Van. I don't know availability. I haven't broached the subject with any of them, so I'm just sort of putting that out there for consideration, along with sort of a nominal, I don't know what it would take, maybe a $20,000 contribution to the wages of the member. I don't know.
You thinking of this as a full-time position?
Well,
it's their only job, maybe not full-time within Lions Bay, but that's what they do.
Yeah, but say maybe they work 4 days a week with their home company or home city or town, and then we could get a day's work out of them a week or something. Or I'm not arbitrary about that. Whatever works.
You're groping at straws here, right? Trying to come to the right answer.
Yeah, find the resource.
Idea, and maybe with
at our budget.
The collected heads around the table, we could come up with something that works and see what works with staff. I don't want to throw something at you if you don't think it's going to work or if you can't find the money. But
well, my experience at the SLRD in attempting to share staff resources was that while it often sounded like a good idea, in practicality, in the real world, it very rarely worked, and that municipalities were generally jealous of the resources that they did have, that priorities and sorting out priorities as to when a person owes their allegiance to whom do they owe that allegiance first and foremost, and you know, it's hard to give up having someone at your beck and call when you've already got that. That was sort of, you know, because as a small organization, the regional district was looking for economies of scale and that kind of thing. And there were discussions with respect to, I mean, ultimately we did end up with a very good emergency coordinator, emergency program manager, who's excellent, I think one of the best in his field. I think Squamish was eager to have him working for them, but he elected to stay with the regional district, as I understand it. Whether or not he would have time to provide us with assistance, whether or not anyone at West Van or any other municipality would. I'm not sure whether Metro employs anybody to cover that responsibility for the electoral area. It's legislatively necessary, I think. I think they have that obligation.
I don't know about the actual legislation. It's known to be a hole in their offering to the electoral area, and Marcin Paczynski and Maria Harris are raving about what little services we provide. But as soon as they do that, then they need to provide a fire department, which is a discussion we can have with them, at least for the house sound portion of EA. But
there may be some tie-ins in terms of ideas that we could talk about. The other thing that springs to my mind is that Nye and I did meet with EMBC, with the head of EMBC, and he brought along new staff to introduce, and also brought somebody from IPREM, and there were a couple of ideas about, it sounded to me like there was potential for looking to them for some ideas or resources in terms of assisting us with moving our own programs along. So that might be something that, I mean, we can certainly discuss these ideas at the subcommittee as soon as we have that meeting, and sort of lay out, okay, what have we got here? Where are the gaps? What things do we need to look at? How are we going to address these things in terms of a work plan? What resources do we need, internal or external? And see if we can come up with a plan to go forward.
I'm happy to ask Admiral Becerra, but I think Peter's, I'll defer to your judgment.
I think they're kind of far afield. I'm not sure what they do actually. I think just the CAO is the, I think in both cases the CAO is the emergency program.
Is there a terms of reference for such a position or a framework? I mean, I don't even know what such a person does.
Oh sure, there's a whole raft of things that they're responsible for, but.
Okay, well, here's what I suggest, Fred. I mean, yes, obviously we need to do something in this regard. Can we table this to the closed discussion? Because it would come around land, labour, or legal. That's closed. The labour component, and just add it to the discussion in closed, because I have some thinking about how we might address this in the medium to longer term, and then as to the short term. Maybe we have to discuss it in the emergency planning committee, or what's the name of the committee?
Steering committee, emergency steering committee.
Yeah. Because obviously we need somebody to do it, and we don't have that resources in house today.
Yeah, I think we can have a fuller discussion with the subcommittee and talk about that.
Thanks for flagging it anyway, because we've got to get a move on.
Right. Good.
You know, I did that walk through the forest with the guys from forestry, who know wildfire, and it was quite an eye-opener. You know, they don't expect to prevent wildfires. They want to be able to fight the wildfires when they happen. They say, we can bring in resources, you'll be fine. We should be able to get to you before fire here reaches the houses there. You know, it's a bit scary to a non-fire guy, but you know, that can all be planned.
Well, I've seen how they work, and it's not an empty assurance. They are quite remarkable.
I got that impression. These guys live to put out fires. Yeah. Okay, so can we leave it there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks. So I want to ask for a resolution on receiving that report. Are you showing me something, or you're reading the back of your page?
No, just read. I'm trying to get to the right eye page here.
Okay, where are we?
Is that Doodle Art?
Emergency services, I don't think we have a report.
No, there was nothing.
What's that? No, we haven't finished the reports yet. Committee, we have a report from the Council Strategy Committee.
Right, yes, sorry.
And that is a recommendation to council to, please remind us, Peter?
That a public information meeting to discuss the draft zoning bylaw be scheduled for 7 p.m. Thursday, January 19th, 2017 at Broughton Community Hall, Lions Bay.
So that's the recommendation from the committee. Can I have a motion on that, please? And a second? Thanks. Discussion. The one thing, Peter, I just remembered is that I saw something about shipping containers in the draft zoning bylaw that I thought precluded the burn building, because it said shipping containers may not be stacked unless there's a specific allowance over there.
Just give me 2 seconds on this.
I forgot to flag that.
I saw the shipping containers, but I can't remember
There's-
what it was.
You're allowed shipping containers, one, I think. So can you just make a note of that?
Yeah.
While I'm thinking of it?
Shipping containers are the basis of the material they're using to make the burn building. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that that doesn't mean it's gone without engineering.
No, I think it's appearance.
Okay.
I mean, zoning is to do with the look and feel. Now,
Okay.
that maybe the zone allows it, I don't know, but I think the shipping container was a general
Metal
requirement.
shipping containers through there.
Is that what section is that under? Yeah, this is under general definitions, so
Well, it's under 4.17.
17, yeah.
4.17 on page 22.
Yeah. So they may not be stacked, accessible to the general public or rental and lease as part of commercial. Okay, some of those are fine, but the stacking struck me. Okay, so you've got that. That's fine. Okay, good. So, any further discussion? Call the question on the recommendation. All in favour, opposed, carried. How are we for time? Not bad. Not bad. Emergency services. Is there an emergency services report? I don't seem to remember. No, there's not. Good. Resolutions. There's one resolution on the floor, on the table, I never know which. And that is a request to the Greater Vancouver Water District. This is mine, so I'll speak to it. Before I ask for a motion and a second. This has been somewhat discussed in general terms. My proposition is that I know this will take them several months to years to get going on. All I'm asking for at this stage is that they put in their work plan, and it will be next year's work plan, 2018 work plan, to perform a feasibility study on supplying GVRD water to Lions Bay through a variety of means. And perhaps I would also have said that well, this is the wording of a resolution that would go to the GVRD, right? I mean, I would also suggest that we request them to work with the staff and infrastructure committee, but that's sort of procedural rather than the need for a resolution. Yeah, okay. So, can I ask for a motion on this resolution without going through the formality of reading it out? Thanks. So that's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favour? And opposed? That carries. Thanks. So you'll send that out, Peter?
Yeah.
I have given them a slight heads up already, so they know it's coming.
If there's, well, actually, I'll send it to the corporate officer. So.
Yeah, Chris Placknell.
And might want to CC somebody if you have somebody in mind that.
Tim Jervis, the head of water. Every time I walk in, he's sort of saying, oh, "What's he going to ask me now?"
This would be quite the coup.
Okay.
Well, at least the feasibility study. Yeah, I mean, maybe it says it can't be done. On the other hand, maybe it says it can be done.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, look at the revenue for them. I mean, it's a winner everywhere. I mean, for the balance of staff, I mean, this came out of the council meetings, the last one.
Well, I think at least
It
they would,
pencils out.
they would,
Yeah.
at least they would give it, they would look at it and think about it, because we are, we're a member of Metro, so they would at least.
But there's all kinds of good reasons.
Yeah,
It
sure.
binds us closer to Metro, it sort of keeps the frontier safe, all that kind of stuff. And kudos to Ron for actually coming up with the idea that the most feasible pipeline alignment is likely to be under the sea, around the coast.
Yeah.
We get sweetened the pot by offering to pay a full 65 cents a cubic meter instead of 63.
Yeah, exactly. We could round it up. No, there's no pennies anymore. We could cannibalize our plants because they wouldn't be needed anymore.
Well, there's all sorts of advantages to it. Yeah.
No, I might still need the plants.
Good.
No?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you'd certainly need rechlorination. Whether you'd need full UV, I don't know. Anyway, that's for the feasibility study to work out, not us.
Well, that's something that would probably have to be dealt with on site anyway, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a long, drawn-out process, and I knowing how Metro works, you know, their work plan for 2017 was set in October, so this is, you know, this is just to get going. Okay, bylaws, what's that about? That's only if you have any.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
nothing there.
Correspondence. Ron, do you want to do the honors?
Thank you, which is on page 27 of 72. I would shift it a little bit and go in reverse. Go to the resident one first, which is hosting House Sound Community Forum, which Ruth was here giving us the thing. There were 2 dates that I wrote down. One was the 21st to the 28th. She nixed the 21st because we're there, so the request is the 28th. So that's first request. The second one, Lions Bay to host, that's the second one. And the third one is to front the costs. And let's go higher and let's call it $800 for that one. And I think the fourth thing is the agenda, which if, in my view, it's just great to go to other communities, but if they're going to come to ours, I certainly, unlike the last one.
No more 1 hour discussion of the biosphere.
You know, we're at on biofuel too, so I think you can't get enough of it, but I've had enough of it. So I think that I will put forward the 1, 2, 3 in a minute, but I think in terms of the agenda, Carl, either it's you with the resident or you and Eileen with the resident to set the agenda so that it does something here for Lions Bay. Otherwise, we're just feeding 50 people.
Exactly. I made the point to Ruth that you know, this is a community forum. The part that I have found most useful heretofore has been the presentations by each of the communities on what they're doing. I found some of them so useful that I actually followed up with the person, the councillor or mayor who said it, and said, "No, just remind me what it was that you said about Squamish and Gibson's." They said something that was useful to us. And so I suggest to Ruth that that community part gets bumped up in terms of length, that the 3 regional districts that form part of the House Sound community get given a rubric to say something important about how their regional districts work. And no more 1 hour spent on biospheres, and certainly it needs to be said because that's where it gets broached, but 10 minutes, just like everybody else. So,
I mean, I think ever to be so rude, since we're going to talk about it again, I mean, a self-serving something or other, such as whatever the latest wood fiber thing for 45 minutes probably is not going to cut it in terms of everybody. So
this is not a green the Green Party's forum. It's the community forum. So I want to take it back to that.
So I'm going to charge you, Mayor Burr, with this one, or you and your designate, and we're going to do it so that it's got a good agenda.
Well, let's you and me do that, Eileen.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
With Ruth.
Thank you.
Oh, hang on. I think we also need to
We need a resolution.
dedicate.
I'm going to go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Dedicate public works time in kind.
In
for-
kind, yes.
Well, waiving
Setup and
fees and hall rental and
Okay.
public works setup fees. Et cetera, et
Do we need to
cetera.
budget max public works in kind, or just say whatever it takes?
I don't know.
Just whatever it takes
makes sense,
to
yeah.
do whatever. Peter's raised a good point here too, because they're trying to keep protect. Okay,
I've also volunteered to fund a better overhead projector this time,
what does that mean?
because I don't like the little small one that has to be this far from the screen so you can't see it. So I'm going to get a commercial one.
A rental?
I'm going to rent it. Yeah, I'm going to rent it. I've
Okay.
volunteered already,
Okay.
but that doesn't need a resolution.
Well, we'll move the budget to $1,000 then.
I gave you one to use.
Commercial?
Yeah, got one.
You got one?
Yeah.
Okay. See, easy.
All
That's
right.
easy.
All right.
I really don't understand what's wrong with the one we have.
No, well,
but-
that's fine. Mine's
All right.
got mine's,
Too small, too low. too
mine's really, really strong and really, really bright, and you can set it from a long ways away, and it's
How
good.
much was Ruth asking for?
Well, she said 500 initially.
500 or 600
But then
bucks.
when we did the math, it was more like 800.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the residents will come too. She wasn't counting on the residents will come. I mean, Metro comes, the
Yeah, but they don't
comes.
get lunch.
How do
No,
you-
because I was going to the last one except for the.
We'll ask non-officials to contribute $5 towards the lunch, I think. No, otherwise
You had to bring your own
half the
lunch.
crusties in BC will come. Free
we
$17
don't tell the
lunch.
crusties in BC.
Oh, we don't want that. Well, I mean, they're welcome to come,
I
but
tell
they
you
must...
what, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this offline and leave this with you and Eileen to
Okay,
figure.
fine, good.
I don't wanna.
Okay, so what's the resolution you need from us?
Okay, number 1, 2, 3, 4. First resolution. Council agrees that Lions Bay will host the House on Community Forum on the 28th of April. That's 1 and 2. Number 3, without being specific, all-in hard costs maximum $1,000. And 4, Public Works to be requested to do assistance and setup and whatever they do to make the event occur.
And 5, waive fees on the whole.
That's for you guys to.
So
And waive fees on the hall. Thank you.
is this called in-kind, which is comprised of Public Works and
Fee
hall
rentals,
fees?
Okay.
fee rentals, et cetera, and Lord knows what we're going to do with parking with these people.
It's a new kind of parking.
Okay, so
Okay, thanks, we'll take
I
that as
will
your
loan you a
motion.
projector.
Motions,
No
but that's
problem.
kind of comes through this. Okay, motions forward.
Okay, that's your motion, thank you. Second, thanks Fred. Any further discussion? All in favour? Opposed? That carries.
Good, good. Okay, next one going in reverse on the general correspondence. Wood fiber LNG, which is January the 27th. It's got a host of everybody going, which I would only see Mayor Burr. I don't know if you have an interest in listening to this topic.
I've already been dragooned into this.
But it looks like the who's who is there, so you should be there, so we'll leave it with you to attend, thank you.
And I would like to go, and if everyone isn't going, I think everyone was invited. I think we should ask Ruth if she wants to go.
She's welcome to go as a member of the public. I believe it's...
No, it isn't members of the public.
It's not, well, then she has no status, so she can't.
No,
come.
I think in the email it said, if you can't attend, you can put someone else's name in.
No, but that's always another elected official.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a invitation to local government and indigenous leaders.
Yeah. So I spoke to Jordan Surrey about this. He's putting it on with his counterpart, Jonathan Williamson. Yeah, the two, they are both the parliamentary secretaries to the Minister of the Environment, Jordan for the province and Wilkinson for the feds. So I've been dragooned in. I actually had to miss a Metro board meeting for this, but so be it.
I'll go to your board meeting.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Absolutely. Do we need a resolution? No, you're the alternate,
I'm
right?
the
You can just go.
alternate.
I just need to send an email.
Okay,
Email
pause
for
for a
Craig.
second, thank you. I stumbled on that one.
Yeah, I'm glad I mentioned that.
Okay, so.
I would have come to it eventually.
So Eileen and Carl, you're on the thing, and there we go. I guess you take Ruth as your personal assistant.
No, I think this was specifically
Okay, so this
decision
This is
makers.
closed deal. Okay, fine. Leave it at that then. So G3, provincial property taxes and homeowner grants. This is on page 66, of which the penultimate paragraph is the guts of it, which is...
What pages are you looking at that I'm not seeing?
I'm on the agenda package, top right-hand side. So our good friend Derek Corrigan has suggested to the province and all those that we freeze the property tax, anyhow, freeze this back to 2015 levels. DeYoung has already come out this morning taking care of that. So.
On a slightly different way, he raised the threshold, as Peter correctly predicted he would, for the homeowner grant.
Does that affect us?
1.6.
Yeah.
He brought it here.
I thought it was
Yeah.
just Vancouver and some other place that raised it.
No, he
province.
started his speech
It's the
with
province.
all of province to.
It would have to be the
benefit.
province, yeah,
As
because
soon as it was announced this morning, as soon as it was announced, it hit my
Yeah.
phone, and it was on. I tied into the Vancouver Sun, and immediately was up there
Yeah.
really quickly.
Anyhow,
Oh, that's a
so
good thing.
Derek, nice try, but no, it didn't work. No response. It would be my recommendation.
Yep.
G2, which is CCMARD. If you want to find out what this acronym stands for, you can look at their multi-page, multi-colorful
yeah.
thing.
Huge, yeah.
It's a nice soft ask, many goals, no response would be my recommendation. Which brings us to the top one, G1 Metro 2040. Again, I refer to the penultimate paragraph, page 29, which to read is, you are invited to provide written comments on the proposed amendment to Metro 2440. Please provide comments in the form of a council or board resolution as applicable, submit to Chris, blah, 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 blah. Following the notification or report to GBRD will be prepared the recommendations regarding next steps in the bylaw amendment process. I'm sure, Mayor Burr, this is very topical with your crew at Metro. And I'd follow your lead on this. I would say that Lions Bay doesn't even hit the data that they provided in the numerous graphs.
That is correct.
Not that our two houses might move the needle much, but...
No, exactly.
So, nice to be part of the crowd, but there you go.
Yeah, I would say no response.
No
Everybody good with
response. Done, so then we're done.
that? Okay.
So, on your cover sheet of your agenda, you'll see under correspondence that we now have a resolution that should be passed, or a motion that should be made, that the following actions be taken with respect to the correspondence. So it dealt with the same way as we deal with the IRRs. So what you've just indicated with respect to each of these pieces of correspondence, you're resolving be dealt with in that manner.
Fine. Okay. Now, what about the special R1 where we made a separate resolution?
Yep, well, we have a separate resolution.
Okay, so that we don't refer to in this resolution. This is just to receive correspondence, and in this particular case, no further response other than separately resolved. Okay, that's sufficient for motion. Good. Can I have a second on that? Any other discussion? All in favour? Opposed? That carries. Good, thanks. New business. That's when somebody brings something up. There's no new business, right?
We don't have any new business
Okay,
on the
fine.
agenda.
Public questions and comments? Deirdre? Are you absolutely certain? This being your last chance. We will now move to item 14, closed council meeting, to close the meeting under sections 91C and 92B of the Community Charter. Can I have a motion? Second, any discussion? All in favour? Opposed? Carries. The meeting is proceeding towards the close. Okay, we're returning from closed session. The only item to report out of closed session is that items were discussed pertaining to the reasons for closing the meeting. I'll take a show of hands around the table. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. And second, all in favour? Opposed? Carry. Meeting adjourned 8:41.
9:41.
Thank you. 9:41.